3-month period in which we go and fight with the insurance company, say, hey, are you going to cover this? And they say, no, here's an appeal, no. And then you finally exhaust everything. But the patient does not see any of this transparency that's happening, right? Any of this process, the amount of work that you've done. And all they see is this final statement. And then they get very upset. So this is the actual, the fee mystery problem that we're trying to solve. If we can get closer to that fee, then we can actually do better.
I am so excited for today's episode. But before we go to that, we've got to go to the Ask Ken segment. The question that came in today was quite interesting. The question was somewhat generic and said, Ken, it seems like I can't trust the data and the information in my practice management software. What should I do about that? Well, we could go down a long, long rabbit hole on this. I'll just say this, and this will be a good start for you. You have to understand that garbage in is garbage out. And so if you're not liking what's coming out of your PMS, unfortunately, all fingers are going to be pointing at you and your team, and you're going to need to figure out a better way to be using the practice management software. Hopefully that's helpful. Now, I'm super excited to introduce our two guests. We have Louis Chan and Jonas Sison. Louis and Jonas, if each of you would take just a minute and tell us about your background, and then we're going to jump right into the truth that you guys want to attack on the show today.
Fantastic. My name is Louis. I am the CEO of Kaylie. And I've been in the industry for, at this point, about 20 years, since, high school. I started by building IT systems and really started by transforming non-digital dentistry. Doctors still had film in the office, developer rooms, and transforming them into digital dentistry, then kind of working through that, and then working on the RCM side of things. And then really, taking a role as an executive director at a couple of oral surgery practices that we had. And then, really with those frustrations that we had, built at Kaylie, and that's what we are at today.
Awesome. Jonas.
And I'm Jonas Sison. I run Wiobi. It's an RCM company. Through that, I got together with Louis and started to build Kaylie. So I'm the CFO at Kaylie.ai. We both see a lot of holes in the industry, and that's why we decided to create Kaylie. I've been in the industry about 15 years or so. I'm a management consultant. That's my background, and got into dentistry through a client of ours who was trying to build a DSO. So we built a nice emerging group, and then I thought to myself, hey, this was easy. Let's do it on our own. And it's not easy. I did it on my own. And 15 years later, this is where we are.
Awesome. We all have our journeys, and we all have our naive hope, so to speak, right? That ultimately turns into decades of dedicated work. So, all right. Well, I think we're ready to jump right into whatever this truth is. So whichever one of you want to lead out, and we'll start getting into it.
All right. The truth I wanted to talk about, how I've been hearing a lot is because people ask me the question, and a former question is hey, AI is going to replace people. Correct. That's basically what people have been coming out to me. I think at DEO, I'll get right down to it. Somebody said, will your AI allow me to fire my RCM team? That was the question he asked me. I just kind of no. I think you have bigger issues if the first thing you want AI to do is fire your RCM team. But that's the truth I wanted to talk about today.
Yeah, fantastic. To enhance that, Jonas, really, we do have the similar conversations, and a lot of the questions that were asked to me is what is the things that I'm seeing as I'm building Kaylie is really that, as technology vendors and a lot of the technologists in dental industry, we're building a lot of these softwares in silos, right? If you take revenue cycle management, for example, we have, insurance verification as its own product. We have treatment planning as its own product. We have claims as its own product. But really where the hyper kind of leapfrogging that you can get is really understanding the lessons that you get from claim processing and bring it up to insurance treatment planning and insurance verification. And those are kind of the gold standard nuggets of truth that the office managers and the treatment coordinators and the builders of the world have in their head that we call tribal knowledge, right? And that's the kind of a thing that everyone is really kind of afraid of, inherently in the back of their mind going what if my X person, leave the office? What am I going to do, right? And this is the kind of thing that we need to break down barriers and silos and build technology together where we can cross-talk, those processes to have these knowledge retained into a repository. So that's the kind of truth that we're going to talk about today.
Jonas, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, that's it. When that person came up to me at DEO, I just said, I think you have, bigger problems in your organization if you're looking to fire. When I look at my teams, I look at how I make them more efficient, how we can expand, right? How we can supersize basically your role. And we use AI and those tools to do that. And I look at myself, it's like, hey, can we replace X? It's like that. I can't look at replacing X. Can I make X do? Because right now, our front desk, for example, they do 3 or 4 jobs in one, and try to have a smile on their face while they're talking to an insurance company and greeting somebody. It's like, no, but at the same time, I can't hire 4 people to fit in the front desk. So you need things to become more efficient. And that's really where we've been trying to focus on is like, hey, where can we help our teams become more efficient? At some point, this person who's looking to fire his RCM team should look at it as like, hey, did we hire correctly? Because if I'm looking to fire, that means they're not efficient. They're not doing their jobs enough. What can we do? But at the same time, too, if you have that many people that you need to fire, it's like there are so many companies like mine who need to hire. Like we can't hire enough. If you have well-trained, good people, now you have a scaling thing where, okay, if I have 50 great people, if you're a DSO, I can buy, merge, acquire more practices because I have a team that can support it. That to me is the crux of it. It's like, if you're looking to fire, that means you're not in a growth thing. That means you're looking to downsize because really, if you have a good team, this allows you to grow. This is going to allow you to expand.
So guys, I have an example from very early on in my career I want to share with you that I think will resonate with you, and I think it'll resonate with those listening as well. Shortly after coming home from a mission, I started working at Fidelity Investments in downtown Salt Lake City, and it was a call center. And back then, the technology was very, very, we're just so much more advanced today. But the word came down that people were going to be able to start placing their stock trades by pushing keys on the telephone pad. Like that technology didn't exist, but everybody immediately, because at that point in time, I was a brokerage representative and everybody else around me, people had to call us and say, buy 100 shares of Amgen, sell 100 shares of Microsoft or whatever. And we'd just be placing orders all day long. And it was very monotonous, right? It's just super easy, basic, do the work and get it done. Well, everybody was like super worried about losing their job and everything else. And what ended up happening was there wasn't a single person that lost their job. What happened is all of us that were doing what we were doing before, that were doing the basic, simple stuff, now they had this whole core team that could go and take care of bigger problems that the customers were having that the company was not solving for. And so it was a great testament to a new technology comes in, and then everybody's afraid about what they're going to lose and how their life is going to fall apart. And then all of a sudden, the technology solves low-level basic things, but you still need smart humans that can handle all the more complicated processes and things. And I know we want to try to get AI and things to do various things, but I don't know. Tell me, does that resonate? What resonates about that for the two of you?
Absolutely, Ken. I think the way I think about this is if you bring new technology into an organization, right? It doesn't necessarily one-to-one replace a person. But what it can do is you can then have this person, figure out edge cases, right? Because for example, there's a lot of processes in dentistry that I would kind of, in quote unquote say unsuitable for human use, right? It's like, these are things that a human should not do, right? Like how many people want to stay on the phone with the insurance company and just fight with an insurance company to get a claim paid? Or insurance verification, like you have like a list of 40 codes and you're just going down the list, just asking questions. These are not fit for like human duties, right? And these things are what we bring automation and technology to actually do. That's perfect. Now, what the human can do is then understand what this means and then provide a better customer experience, better patient experience, so that they can actually see this particular thing evolve. One thing I always say to my team in my office in oral surgery, we see about close to about 300 patients a week, right? And I tell them, look, right, if you do your job 90% of the time perfectly, 90%, that means you're seeing 270 patients. 270 patients has a great experience. 30 of them will not. But for those 30 patients, they only had a singular experience, right? So it is important for you to kind of understand that from their perspective. And really, the technology should be actually helping them fulfill that extra 10% and not to replace them.
So Jonas, from your perspective, like, how do we get this message out that, because obviously you were frustrated when this person at the DEO event came and shared sort of their perspective and wanted you to, become the linchman, so to speak, of the employees in their organization. Like, how do we get the word out that technology
Yeah,
is not to be feared and that it actually rewards those who do things the best way possible?
I think the awareness is getting there, right? There's books. Is it the AI driven leader? I can't remember the book. It's an
Mhm.
amazing, I'm butchering it right now, but there's also a bunch of articles about be the AI champion in your organization, and then you can't be replaced. It really is. You need to use this to enhance what you're doing. So we're seeing kids right now. It's like they're using AI in their homework. It's like, don't use AI to just replace your thoughts, but use it to gather information and collect your thoughts. So
Mhm.
really, we just have to change the way people think about AI. It is a tool. It is something that you need to use to your advantage. And that's a lot of the AI tools that are being sold today. They're not supposed to be a replacement for people. If you look at X-ray, it's a second set of eyes for an overworked practitioner that can't see
Mhm.
everything. Or let's say you're a clinical director, you can't review every X-ray, but getting AI to go in there will let you review a lot more than you could before, right? Hey, you can look at the edge cases like Lewis was talking about. So there's things like that on AI that help you, like your repetitive tasks. You shouldn't have to do all these repetitive menial tasks that are really, it just takes time. I know first thing we did was remove that IV function in my offices just because I didn't want them sitting on the phone with the insurance company when
Right.
patients came in, and you need to smile at them, look at them, greet them. You're not greeting them if you're talking to insurance companies. And then that's exactly what we removed. And then if you can, take that out of your office, then can you use technology to enhance that? Because now they can just look at, let's say, Kaylie and have that insurance verification done, and it's in their practice manager software. And you don't have to call now. Lewis is talking
Mhm.
about there's super GPs who look up 150 codes. And we have clients that want us to look up 150 codes. That is really, really, really tough to do
Yeah.
all the time, consistently. AI can help.
Beautiful. That's amazing. Are there any other specific applications that you're finding where there's this opportunity it preserves kind of the high-minded human and empowers that human to grow in that way so that Kaylee, so to speak, can do a lot of other mundane tasks to some degree, right?
Yeah, I can draw on two examples, Ken. One of them is what I kind of call the fee mystery, right? And the other one is kind of like, deny claims, kind of playing games with that, right? So
Mhm.
let's talk about the fee mystery part of it. In my oral surgery practices, we are out of network with everybody except for Delta Dental. This is just because we just have a larger population of patients that we serve for Delta, right?
Right.
So for those patients, we know exactly how much we should collect from the patient because we know how much fee we should be receiving from Delta because we have a contracted amount. But for every other insurance company, whenever we do an insurance verification, since we're out of network, they just tell us, hey, it's 80% covered or 50% covered for a thing. But it's like 80% of what? Like my fee? I'm in like San Francisco area, right? Or is it like,
Are we UCR or what are we, right?
are we UCR? What are we, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And like, I am always baffled because at the end of the month, I have basically a line down the middle where it's like I have a bunch of credits I have to send back out, and I have a bunch of statements that I have to send back out, right? And the statements are going to be very difficult because this is what I call the 1-star review problem. Because you tell the patient, hey, you know what? This is an estimate, like 10 times that they sign it on the form, and
Yeah.
you send a bill saying, hey, you know what? Your insurance allowed amount is like so and so is less, and they have no idea what an allowed amount is, and rightly so. We try to educate them, but the thing is, like, it's very complicated, and I empathize with them. And when you try to collect a $300 bill, sometimes they just don't have that money that they're not expecting. They're thinking, hey, you know what? I already paid this $1,000 for oral surgery. It's already very expensive. I have this $300. It's very stressful. And in the meantime, what ends up happening is there is this like 3-month period in which we go and fight with the insurance company, say, hey, are you going to cover this? And they say, no, here's an appeal, no. And then you finally exhaust everything. But the patient does not see any of this transparency that's happening, right? Any of this process, the amount of work that you've done. And all they see is this final statement. And then they get very upset. So this is the actual, the fee mystery problem that we're trying to solve. If we can get closer to that fee, then we can actually do better. So what we are actually trying to do, one of the things that we try to do in our office before we even build Kaylie is like, we're sitting on a ton of data, right? Like all the EOBs that we have, all of the things that we're getting paid on. We know at the end how much things are going to get paid because they told us already, right? So if we can aggregate that data and then calculate much closer, then we can actually do a better job. And before Kaylie, it was also very difficult for us. So we had to do it in aggregates. We'll be like, you know what? Okay, for Cigna, we know that they're going to pay pretty close to UCR, but not quite. So it's going to be like, okay, let's estimate like 10% down. So, our lines get better, but at the end of the day, it's not perfect. We want to give that visibility to the patient. So that's the first part. So that's the thing that the technology can really help you. And this is the part where it also improves the patient experience. They're much better prepared on what's happening and how much things are going to be, affordability in that case. I think that's the classic American problem of non-visibility in healthcare, of in-network, out-of-network. Same thing happens in the industry. The second problem is this denied claim problem, right? And I think of it as like every denied claim should be a lesson, but that lesson gets trapped in your claims workflow and it never makes it back up to the insurance verification or treatment plan, right? If you knew that you've already billed bone graft 100 times this month and 50% of them get denied, you want to basically be very cautious, right? When you're doing treatment plan to let the patient know that, hey, this might not be covered, or like this particular thing may be covered under a different stipulation, right? So these are the things that are always trapped in the office manager's kind of head, right? Like they only have learned it over this 20 years of scars of getting it denied and then filing with the insurance company and then spending 3-4 hours trying to get this paid and then finally not getting paid and learning why. And they all have this kind of like this tribal knowledge. You can talk to anybody. Everybody has these little stories about like this particular plan does it this way. What we are trying to do is to take all of that knowledge, right, into a very usable format. And as you're doing treatment plans or as you're, filing insurance claims, bring that knowledge in that right place at the right time. So that's where we use technology, right? Really supercharge that human, right, who's in the office, right, and give them the right information at the right time. Even though that information is there in those boxes of EOBs, no one's going to go and try to find it. So that's what I feel like we should be building technology for.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, and Ken, just that problem that Lewis looked at, the fee mystery, right? For oral surgery practices, you have to weigh the 1-star review. How much is this going to cost me in the future? Or the 6-figure loss that we're going to do because we wrote off all these. So for oral surgery, it's easily in the 6 figures.
We just eat it.
Pediatrics is a little cheaper, so we're at 5-figure estimates. But it's something that you have to weigh against. The 1-star is going to cost me X amount, or the write-off's going to cost me Y amount. So we're getting rid of that now. This is just going to make the office more efficient.
Outstanding. All right. Well, I think we're about to get close to wrapping up the episode. Are there any kind of final thoughts that the two of you have before we get ready to sign off?
I mean, you talked about the phone with Fidelity. I knew that. I actually did that way back in the 90s. I had been pushing those buttons for trades. So yeah, I day traded for a little bit as well. So
Right.
I love change. Actually, change is exciting. Change keeps our neurons in our heads firing. As I'm aging, I want more change because I don't want to get used to this. So I welcome the change. I think everybody should welcome change. It makes us adjust and makes us think and makes us get better. We just evolve.
Fantastic.
Yeah, sounds good. I think one last thought that I have, Ken, is really to tie, all that we've said into one kind of thought is we know that this change, the only way this change happens is if we break down these, what I call silos, right? Like these barriers between processes and how we do things. Because if you think about even in like a group practice where they have scaled these very, a large organization, they have a team for insurance verification, they have a team for calling, they have a team for AR, right? And each of the team have learned something. So we need to actually figure out how to move that knowledge across. And that is what we are doing today. And that's that I want every organization to think about it this way. How can your technology help you move your learning from one area of process and make the other area of process better? And that's what I want to leave you with today.
It's fantastic. All right. If you guys don't mind, why don't you share your contact information? So if anybody wants to reach out or follow up with you, feel free to go ahead and do that, and then we'll wrap.
Yeah, fantastic. You can reach me at Louis, Louis, at Kaylie. You can visit our website. If you want to play around with the product, our website is very interactive. It will look exactly as you see our product.
Yep. And I'm at Jonas at Kaylie.ai. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ken.
Outstanding. Thanks so much. Been a pleasure to have you guys. That's it for today's episode of the Dental Truth Project. Thanks again to Jonas and Louis for joining us and sharing all of their amazing insights. If you enjoyed the episode, be sure to follow or subscribe so you don't miss what's coming next. We have a new episode that drops every Wednesday morning. I'm Ken Kaufman, and until next time, please keep seeking the truth that helps dentistry thrive. Happy day.